To build from scratch or to buy complete? That's the question we tackle in this SPG1 Tactical video. First, if you've been a subscriber to the channel, I apologize. I haven't put out a video in a while. Things have been kind of hectic on the home front and I'm juggling a lot of projects. I'm also a new dad with a newborn, and I had to take a couple months off because I decided to go back to the military lifestyle after all these years and went to Army basic training. So if you're interested in hearing what Army basic training's like at almost 40 years old, let me know in the comments and I'll think about doing some stories or lessons learned. But that's not the purpose of this video. I was recently asked to put together and build some ARs for a friend of mine, and I love to tinker and build guns. So now I get the cathartic feeling of completing some builds without the hit to the wallet from buying all of the parts. But this got me to thinking about a question that I've received quite a bit over the years, which is, should I buy a complete AR or build one for my first gun? And this is a great question and really comes down to personal preference and potentially your budget. In some cases, it could be cheaper to build your own gun from the ground up, especially if you're trying to build a higher end gun. But then again, this isn't always the case, as budget ARs can go down into the $400 range. Between the cost of parts plus shipping for all of them, building your own can add up very quickly, unless you're able to be really patient and find parts on sale. The basic answer that I always give is that it's generally better to buy a complete factory rifle if it's your first AR. Now, why do I say this? From the get-go, you have an AR that works from the factory. The day you get it, you can take it to the range and put rounds downrange. Then as you start to learn the AR platform, you can begin to develop a feel for things that you may like to change on your existing AR or how you'd like to build your next one. Another benefit of this method is that if you change a single part at a time on a factory build, you can diagnose problems much easier. For example, if I change the trigger group and the gun no longer cycles, I know there's probably an issue with the new trigger or how it was installed. But if I build from the ground up, I may start messing with things like springs and buffer weights or gas systems before I can figure out it was the trigger the whole time. ARs are kind of like adult Legos. They're fairly simple to build and take apart once you start understanding them. The biggest things that you can't change on an AR within reason is the structure of the receivers. More examples. My Santan Tactical lower receivers have certain aesthetics and a built-in magwell and ambidextrous controls. Now, you can often add magwells and a certain level of ambidextrous controls to a mil-spec lower, but by using accessories and not built into the gun. Another more extreme example would be those lower receivers that have like skulls and Templar helmets as the magwells. You can't really add those after the fact. Another example would be my Santan light upper receiver that again has an aesthetic I like, but also doesn't have a forward assist. You can't just remove the extrusion of a forward assist on a mil-spec upper receiver. So unless you know for a fact that you want a special receiver set because of aesthetic or hand dominance, pretty much every other part is replaceable. And you could still replace the receivers on a factory AR, it's just a little over the top to do so and not cost effective, especially for a lower receiver since that's the serialized portion of the gun. And that's another thing to note. The lower receiver is the only part that you need to purchase through an FFL gun dealer. So all of the other parts you can buy and change as you desire. Do note though that I'm not getting into details of barrel lengths and NFA tax stamps. Maybe I'll do a different video on that process, but it's not hard to understand, and this could be another way to keep yourself out of trouble if you buy a complete AR to begin with. The gun shop or dealer shouldn't sell you an NFA regulated AR without informing you or walking you through the proper process, so you won't accidentally wind up a potential felon. But let's say that you're just one of those people that really likes to tinker and problem solve, and you want to build your own. Here's some tips to help you succeed. First, I recommend making a list of all the parts you'll need to complete your AR. I personally use a spreadsheet where I can list out each part, then the actual manufacturer and product I'm going to use, and then I can color code the status for each part to see how far along I am in the build. For example, green for parts I have ready to go, orange for parts that have been ordered or shipped, and red for parts that I don't have at all yet, or something like that. I've made a copy of my template available for download in the description, so if you're going to be building your own AR, feel free to use that to help guide your build. The second thing that really will help set you up for success is the proper tools. When I first started trying to tinker with my ARs, I was fighting myself more than I needed to and getting frustrated because I didn't have things like punch sets or receiver blocks or torque wrenches. I don't recommend it. You can often get away without these things, but they significantly help. For example, some of my favorite tools are the extended punch that are specifically for the roll pins for a bolt catch. I also really like the pivot pin tool. It just makes installing the front pivot pin just significantly easier. And I have no affiliation, but I wound up purchasing the Master Armors kit from Real Avid, and it has been a godsend on the builds I've done since then. But this particular kit is also the cost of a budget AR, so not very practical for a first-time builder. I mean, you don't have to have this level of kit, and you can just purchase the specific tools that you need, but a full kit certainly helps. The last thing you need is a good combination of confidence and competence. You can find how to install every single piece of an AR on YouTube, but can you follow the directions, assuming they're good directions, and understand if and when something isn't right and troubleshoot it? Do you know when to provide a little more force, or if too much force will cause something to break? These are questions you have to ask yourself when you start thinking about putting together your own AR. I will say this though, learning how to put together an AR gives you an overall better understanding of the gun, makes you feel more personalized with your gun, and gives the satisfaction of successfully completing a project. What are your thoughts on the subject? Feel free to engage in the comments below and help the community. And if you have any tips or tricks on installation processes, throw those in the comments as well. But there you have it. My suggestion is for your first AR that you buy a factory rifle and modify it from there, unless you have the desire, tools, and patience to build your own. One thing I didn't mention earlier is that if you have someone that can either support you or guide you through the process, it can be very helpful to have a mentor. So I just want to give a shout out to my friend Joel over at Gun Toter for kind of showing me the ropes and helping me with my first builds years ago. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and use those trigger fingers to tap or click on those like and subscribe buttons, and that will help me to continue to grow the channel. To find S2S 5-in-1 Gun Lube, endorsed gear, book suggestions, SPG1 Tactical t-shirts, and a copy of the book that I helped to co-author, The 6 Bullets You Can't Leave Home Without, head over to SPG1Tactical.com. For outstanding training, head over to Intuitive Self-Protection at intuitivesp.com or the ISP Facebook page, where you can find course schedules, videos, and student testimonials. And lastly, be sure to stay safe, stay smart, and stay tactical, my friends.